At long last, after another year of waiting, Amber is gone. Let's go, baby. I'm not any sort of a shipping kind of guy, but you know what I am? An anti-shipper. And I anti-ship Amber and Mark. Yo guys, Invincible season 3 is finally out. I'm a huge fan of the show. So guys, if you don't want spoilers, if you don't want to hear nothing about it except an opinion, I will talk a little bit about, but there's going to be some spoilers here and there once we really get into the depth of the episodes themselves. So hit pause, go watch them, and come right back. Starting off with episode 1, we get a montage of Mark doing some, typical superhero activity. We learn that he's, like 186% stronger than the last season. We see him shoot off to the moon and back. He's barely breaking a sweat. Super cool stuff like that. And you know what? I really hate to do this. I but I'm gonna bring up a negative already. I know, I get it, but here's the thing. You can't tell me that the man is 186% stronger than last season and then have his ass get beat by a bug. My boy, there's nothing wrong with losing a fight narratively. Nothing wrong with that at all. But when you're hyping me up on how good he's been getting, and he gets the shit kicked out of him by 3 measly bugs, and then we see those bugs get defeated later in this episode by people that are weaker than Mark, that's just kind of odd. So I wasn't really a fan of that. To be honest, the first episode of this season is a little disappointing. It's not bad. It's not bad. I just think that it is far from the perfection that we've come to know. First things first, though, let's talk about the animation. That is a big, heavy topic for X/Twitter. I see a lot of people sharing clips showing how bad the animation is, and I have to disagree. Is it God tier One Piece hit screen animations at every single step of the way? Of course not. And I do think that there are quite a few areas where the animation is a little bit odd. Like, for example, we're not there yet, but in the second episode, there's a part where Mark is flying, he gets zapped, and he's rolling, but you can tell that they just took an image of him kind of balled up, and then they kind of just spun the PNG. There is stuff like that. There is very noticeable stuff like that where I'm watching it and I'm like, that does not look good. However, to say that all of the animation is bad is just incorrect. There are so many moments of God tier animation in here, especially when it comes down to the gore. However, since the animation joke in season 2, I can't help but notice all of the little cheats here and there, like with the PNG thing I stated before, or with some, not all, but some of the action. The screen will just start shaking like crazy to kind of perceive more action than there really is. But as for the actual story itself, we get the start of Mark and Adam Eve's relationship. We get the whole Dr. Seismic fight and this really great Back to the Future meets National Treasure arc villains. But the thing that picks this up above that average mark for me is the ending of the episode, where we get the big reveal, which we knew this before, but these villains who have been killed and have been murdering people are sort of reinstated as heroes. Mark obviously is not a fan of this. So we have the start of a showdown between Mark and Cecil. So look, I know I'm bitching quite a bit, but honestly, I did really like this episode. I just think it's above average. It doesn't really do a lot to really get me back into the show, but that's where the next episode is taking place, because episode 2 is God tier. This one, I'm just gonna give an above average solid 6 out of 10. Okay, I got the boring stuff out of the way. Guys, episode 2. Boy, hot damn. The action, the animation. We get the White Room. If you know anything about Invincible, the White Room is incredibly hype. We have Mark basically showing up to Cecil, wondering what the hell's going on with these bad guys entering the good guy league. And Cecil basically just starts screwing around with him, throwing a bunch of garbage at him that he knows that he can beat. And if you remember from season 2, in the Atlantis episode, there was that one sound that sort of hurt Viltrumites. Basically, that was embedded inside of Mark's ear. So Cecil presses a button and that sound is just shot into his head. So I would say probably about 90% of this whole episode is just them fighting, going back and forth. They end up going back to the superhero cave where all of Mark's friends see what Cecil's doing to Mark. We have this huge mashup of them all going against each other. It's super hype. Then the episode ends with the team essentially splitting. The shape-shifting guy, Immortal, and a few others, they stay on the team while everyone else starts to do their whole other team with Mark. So I really like that. But talking narratively about this episode, I think that's one of my favorite things because it has the Civil War excuse where neither side is necessarily wrong. Mark's side being, why are we hiring these evil guys? And then on Cecil's side, it's, oh, well, people can change, but he's also going about it in an incredibly terrifying way. Not to mention, we also do get to see more of Cecil's backstory via how he got his scar and him going through a similar traumatic event, being a younger agent. Honestly, in the first episode, we should have spud that shit up. And this episode right here should have been mostly the beginning of the season. This would have been so hyped for episode 1. I'm gonna give this one a solid 9 out of 10. Okay, episode 3 starts off weird. It's a very strange beginning. So we get this like 5-minute short film where it's these two crooks and they're robbing a bank, but they feel kind of bad about it. And then they're like, oh, we'll get jobs. And then they start flipping patties, but then they burn the patties and then they get fired. And then they can't find work. And then they're like, ah, damn, we got evicted from our apartment. I guess we have to rob the bank now. And then they get beat up by Mark and his brother. Now, I want you to imagine what I just said, but it's about 5 minutes and no one talks, and they're gay. I don't know if that matters, but that's also a fact. It's just very random. Like, it would be fine if we knew these characters or if they played a bigger role later on, and maybe they will. Maybe episode 4, these burglars come back in and they're just like, remember me, you know, then that'd be cool. But no, it's just very random and odd, and I think they were trying to go for something artsy here, like, oh, every bad guy has a story, but I don't really give a shit. I don't know. But the important part here is Omni Boy, Mark's younger brother, has finally grown up to the point where he has his power, so Mark is training him. What I love narratively about this episode is we see a lot of parallels between Oliver / Omni Boy and Omni Man. Just the way that he thinks, even without Omni-Man being around, he already sort of has these morals of, you know, humankind doesn't matter embedded into his head. And not to mention, we also get to see how the Guardians of the Globe are split up, how that affects certain battles. The Mahler brothers end up trying to do this like business space takeover thing. The few remaining members of the Guardians of the Globe go to stop them. They just immediately get obliterated. And I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of the Mahler brothers. I just think their design is very boring. That has nothing to do with the episode. I just wanted to put that out there. I don't get why they keep coming back. Kind of annoying. And my prayers were answered because Omni Boy comes in and just kind of throat chops one and then flies through one of their chests. So that's about it for the Mahler brothers. And obviously, Omni Boy was not meant to murder these two. So we get a firm talking to at the end between Oliver, Mark, and the mother. I just really like the whole episode. We get a little reveal of like this alien villain. I'm trying not to read the comics, so I don't know who this is. I might have to at some point. But I really like this one. This one's definitely like a 7 out of 10 for me. I'm incredibly pumped to see how much farther we go with this. This needs at least like 6 or 7 seasons to go through the massive amount of chapters that this comic book has. I'm really hoping that we get there. But I'll see you guys next week for episode 4. See you then.